I found Ginger. He begged me to ask if he can return.
Why should I take him back? It might be his fault I had to bury my husband.
What?
Why else would he flee but guilt? The men said they didn't see him in bed. He didn't have a clean conscience because he gave those murderers a signal.
That's not true. He fled because one of the attackers recognized him and Ginger was afraid he'd come back and kill him.
Those are just excuses. He wouldn't dare come back.
But they came back the very same day. If he hadn't run, they'd have killed him and everyone else.
Why would they do that?
Why not? They'd already murdered several people, why not a few more?
And now I'm supposed to take him back? What if they come back for him and kill one of my daughters in the process?
The cutthroats who were after him have been taken care of. And the rest have no reason to return here.
And what about for revenge? I can't take him back.
There's no need to fear vengeance. The bandits who were looking for Ginger are in hell, and no one else knows about it.
But what if they find out somehow?
The only way they could find out would be a holy vision. Anyway, I reckon they'll have more pressing concerns than coming back here.
Well, all right. Let him come back. But he'd better not do anything like that again.
My respects to you.
I talked to Ginger and found out what happened.
Out with it, then.
Ginger fled because he recognized one of the raiders. He was afraid they'd come back to silence him.
Well, he was right. They were asking about him. So who did he recognize?
He didn't know his name. Some fellow with a limp from Ujits.
All right. Since you've gone this far, you may as well ask around at Ujits. We've enough to do here in these parts anyway. Sir Radzik will tell you about it. He said to send you to him if you haven't already been.
Can you teach me how to defend myself better in combat?
Certainly.
I'd like to practice the basics.
All right, but it'll cost you.
Isn't that quite a lot?
Agreed. Now, listen up.
God bless you. What troubles you?
My lord, I managed to find a clue to the whereabouts of the bandits.
Excellent. Fern had already told me what's been happening, but I'd like to hear it straight from the horse's mouth.
The whole story, or just the gist of it, sir?
It's up to you what you consider important.
One of the Neuhoff stable boys, a lad they called Ginger, fled from there and hid out with some charcoal burners. I have to say, there's a lot of them around. I never thought how many forges and ironworks they have to supply.
That's true, but keep to the point.
Oh, yes, sir. I had quite a job finding him. He was well hidden and with good reason. The bandits wanted to kill him because he recognised one of them.
Did he tell you what happened?
He said it wasn't one gang, but two. And one of them took fright when the slaughter started. Seems they were only interested in loot, so they quarrelled with the other lot. Then it came to a skirmish in the woods and one of them was killed. And the rest of them scattered.
And did you find out where they went?
All I know is one of them is from Uzhitz. I know enough about him to be able to track him down.
All right, but those cutthroats must know who he is too, right? And if they want to get revenge on him or silence him, you'd better hope they don't get to him before you. So drop everything and get on his trail. Find out what he knows and then report back to me. I'm going to our encampment at Merhayed to oversee the security of the region.
Yes, sir. Why choose Merhayed?
It's somewhat at the centre of events, isn't it? And what's more, there's another stud farm there.
Sir, do you think they're going to try the same thing again?
I shouldn't think so. Everyone will be on the alert now, but the secluded dwellings are more vulnerable. There are few people in them. They're scattered everywhere and we can't guard them all.
But the bandits won't find much silver in places like that.
There's always a groschen or two, some food and so on. Anyway, how much silver did they get from slaughtering those horses?
True. If they'd stolen them, they could have sold them. Those were fine animals.
Exactly. It's not about the silver. It's about something else.
But what?
Creating fear. Such great terror that you won't even squeak when they come to cut your throat. Never mind raise your hand against them. Fear that will root you to the spot, staring like a rabbit entranced by a stoat, waiting for the death blow to fall. Helpless to do anything about it.
I have some news about the investigation, sir.
Good. Tell me.
The trail leads to Uzhitz. I found out one of the bandits is from there, a fellow they call Limpy Lubosh.
I see. What else?
That's all I've found out so far, sir.
All right. Come back and report to me as soon as you learn anything new.
let's have a word about the price.
All right, so. All right, so.
Hey, Henry's come to see us.
If I want to leave the province, I'll have to get permission from Sir Radzig.
citizens. Move along. There's nothing to see here.
That's what you call nothing to see. I'd like to know what something to see looks like.
By the keys of St. Peter, this is all I need. We'll have to send word to Sir Hanush.
That might not be necessary.
Who are you?
I'm Henry of Skalitz, in the service of Hanush's Captain Bernard. I'm investigating the attack at Neuhof, and I think this could be related.
Well, I'm the bailiff of Auschwitz. And I say we don't want any of that kind of trouble around here. What makes you think this has anything to do with Neuhof?
One of the folk at the stud farm recognized someone from Auschwitz among the bandits.
We have no bandits or murderers around here.
Really? They say he had a limp?
Shit. Well, allow me to introduce you to Limpy Lubosh. Or all that's left of him.
Sacre. Nothing's ever easy. I'll have to take a look around and ask a few more questions, if that's all right with you.
You can take this mess off my hands and welcome to it. As for what else there is to find out, I don't know. But look and ask all you like.
Who was Limpy Lubosh?
A poor crofter and a scoundrel. Can't say I'm too surprised what happened to him. He kept company with all sorts of vermin. He was always getting into some kind of trouble. Punch-ups in the tavern and what have you.
How come he limped?
He got that from some villainy or brawl a long time ago.
Has he been up to anything suspicious lately?
I don't know. The last few days he didn't go anywhere. He was home the whole time. But he always kept everyone in the village at arm's length.
Did he have any kith or kin in the village?
None. A loner he was. I don't know the last time I saw him with anyone.
Do you happen to know where he was on the night of the Neuhof raid?
I've no idea. He kept his distance from other folk, so you never knew if he was away or holed up at home.
When did you find the body? And did anyone see anything?
Just now. And nobody saw or heard anything. I don't know how they could gut him like that without someone hearing him scream.
Another thing about Lubosh. How come he limped?
He got that from some villainy or...
Lord above, they did a hell of a job on him. Must have been agony. How come no one heard anything? A bed. Nothing unusual. A bed. Nothing here.
Talk to everyone while they're outside. It's probably bad to just go to sleep. Yeah, no, we'll be alright now.
My respects to you.
I've come in the name of Sir Hanish of Lipa. I'm investigating the massacre in Neuhof, and now a murder here as well. Can I ask you a few questions?
Ask all you want, lad.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
Everything about him was suspicious. I always gave him a wide berth.
Who was this Lubosh who was murdered?
Those that live by the sword, die by the sword. I'm not surprised the end he came to.
Do you know what Lubosch was doing the day Neuhof was raided?
How would I know?
Do you know who Lubosch used to spend time with? Kin or friends?
I don't know, since I don't go to alehouses.
That's all. Thank you.
Good out to you, sir.
I've come in the name of Sir Hanush.
Sir Hanush gives a job like that to a young fellow like you? Well, what do I care? Ask.
That man Lubosch who was murdered, what was he like?
He was a strange one. Always drinking, bad-tempered. Lord knows how he made a living. Well, maybe now I've got an idea or two.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
I didn't see much of him lately. Not even in the tavern. Not till yesterday in church, as it happens.
Do you know what Lubosch was doing the day Neuhof was raided?
I don't think he was home at all. Wait, are you saying he... Jesus.
Do you know anyone Lubosch used to spend time with? Relatives or friends?
I really don't know. As far as I know, he had no kin. I never saw him with anyone.
That's all. Thank you.
Jeez.
Who's there? Answer me.
Looking for someone?
I've come in the name of Sir Hanush.
Ask all you want, lad.
That's all. Thank you.
Who's there?
Jesus! Look where you're going!
What have we here?
say to you? What do you need?
I've come in the name of Sir Hanush of Leip.
I don't know nothing about it, but ask all you want.
That man Lubosh who was murdered.
I didn't really know him. He kept to himself.
Have you noticed anything?
Come to think of it, he was in church yesterday. He was even talking to the priest. I was wondering what he was up to take to the faith all of a sudden. But I suppose no sin's too dark for God's mercy.
Do you know what
I was coming from the tavern very late that night, and I caught a glimpse of someone entering the village. He looked like he was in a hurry. It was only a shadow against the sky, but after what happened, I wouldn't wonder.
Do you know anyone Lubosh?
Not with anyone from the village. He used to sit in the tavern next to us sometimes, but he never said much.
That's all. Thank you.
What are you doing?
Good health to you, sir.
I've come in the name of...
Of course. Ask...
That man Lubosh who was...
He was a drunk. He was always looking for a fight. Nobody liked him much. But I wouldn't wish an end like that on anyone.
Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
Well, now I think of it, I hadn't seen him around for a while. No idea where he was skulking.
That man Lubosh who was murdered...
He was a...
Do you know what Lubosh was...
Not a clue.
Do you know any...
He was a loner. He didn't even have any mates.
That's all. Thank you.
God be with you, good sir.
I've come in the...
Of course. Ask...
That's all.
What the hell?
My respects to you.
I'd like to learn to read.
You? You don't look like the makings of a priest or clerk. But why not? Bear in mind, it won't be all that easy. You'll need plenty of time and a few groschen for my trouble.
All right. I don't want to waste time. We can get started. The sooner I master it, the better.
Very well. I will require some groschen from you, though, and set aside at least a couple of days so I can put you through your paces, if indeed time is of the essence.
Here are your groschen.
Then we may as well start. He did break his vow, but better than to dishonor it here. May he follow his heart. Wake up, lad. It's time we were getting on. So, let's see you read a bit. There's a book here on the table. Try to read it.
Will I manage?
You ought to be able to. It's a simple text. Come back once you've worked your way through it.
read the book.
Wonderful. So tell me, what have you learned?
There was something about some fellow and a goose.
Ah, well, the main thing is you've managed to read the book. The rest is just practice. Only through a careful reading will you uncover the real meaning of the text. No book is written on a mere whim and without purpose. Like I told you, books are valuable, and the words that you place in them ought to be no less so.
Does that mean that I can read then?
Yes, you have the foundation. Remember, my boy, the pen is mightier than the sword. To fully learn your way around words will take a lot more reading yet. Now we'll move on to the second lesson, which will be much harder. Many books are written in Latin, the language of erudite and religious men. If you really want to be able to read, there's no getting away from Latin. There's a book on the table with some text. Read it and then come back. You need not understand it, but you should master the letters.
I only just managed the fable about the goose, and now you're asking me to tackle Latin.
You're a clever lad. You'll manage.
I read the page.
So tell me, Distupule, what's written there?
Nullus est liber tam malus, ut non alique parte prosit.
Good heavens! Don't tell me you haven't had lessons before. Excellent. Well, there's nothing more I can teach you. Congratulations. You can go and be ordained right away.
Thank you, Domine. I'm feeling a lot wiser.
Apples straight from the tree, melons right off the vine, and beetroot fresh from the fields.
Good health to you.
I'd like to discuss...
Naturally.
What about this?
That sounds pretty interesting.
That's a sum I can live with.
Radishes, carrots and apples, that'll put a smile on your face.
I see you know how to wield a sword, Father. I wouldn't have expected that from a man of the cloth.
With a stick. I practiced with a stick. A reminder of my youth and days gone by, and it helps keep me in good form.
The blessings of our good Lord be with you, Father. I'm here in the name of Sir Hanush of Lipa, investigating the massacre at Neuhof, which seems to be connected to a murder here. Can I ask you a few questions?
It seems Sir Hanush is employing children as investigators. But ask as you wish, boy. I hope this nasty business will be cleared up quickly.
Did you know Lubosh? What was he like?
A bit of a lost soul. Simple, rough fellow, but at heart I don't think he was such a bad person.
Did you notice anything suspicious recently?
My child, all sorts of suspicious things have been going on recently. People like Lubosh don't know what to do about it, and sometimes they do stupid things.
That's really not a lot of help to me, Father.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing on the day Neuhof was raided?
Unfortunately, I do know. And I'd like to help you with your investigation, but I can't.
What?
I'm bound by certain vows that forbid me to tell you.
Vows more important than catching dangerous murderers?
There are laws of God above the laws of man, son, and one of those is the sanctity of the confessional.
Father, surely you can't be serious. There must be situations in which you can make an exception.
There are things that apply always, no matter what the circumstances, and this is one of them.
For heaven's sake, Father, can you really look me in the eye and tell me that, when you know you may be condemning innocent people to death?
I can, because if I broke that vow, the consequences would be much worse than if I didn't. Maybe not immediately, but one day. The mills of God grind slowly.
Father, Lubosh was my only lead to the Neuhof raiders. Only he could tell me who was responsible for that massacre. If I don't find out who it was, it will probably happen again. Surely you wouldn't want that.
I wouldn't. But I can't betray the sanctity of the confessional. I'll tell you what. Give me some time and I'll try to think up some way of helping you. Suppose we talk it over in the evening, in the tavern, over a cup of good wine. Maybe we'll come up with something.
All right. Thank you, Father.
Do you have any work that needs doing?
My dear lad, I have more worries than I can bear. Another pair of shoulders would ease my burden. I have to deal with a local witch.
A witch?
The herb woman, old Gertrude. That devious hag who will stoop to anything. Like all herbalists, for that matter.
Oh, don't tell me. The cows are giving blood instead of milk, and babies are being born with 2 heads and a tail.
This is no laughing matter. Gertrude isn't evil. She just has peculiar ideas about what's good for people. A little bird told me she incited some Uzhet's women to witchery.
A little bird told you, did it?
You know how good people are at seeing the splinter in another's eye and not the beam in their own.
In other words, someone's been gossiping. And what's the problem?
As long as herb women stick to giving psychic to folk and bloated cows, assisting in childbirth, or burning incense in bedrooms to help with sleep, then nothing at all. But this is sacrilege, and it's unsafe. All sorts of molds and lichens and poisonous plants and other foul things go into those concoctions. I'd hate to see her poison some poor gullible lass.
What do you want me to do?
I want you to go and see her and find out what she's been up to. I know she lives in fear of the Holy Church, so tell her I sent you. That will make her talk and think twice about encouraging witchcraft. If you learn that she truly did involve folk in some foolishness, find out all you can and deal with it.
Consider it done.
Good. And never fear. I'm a man who always pays his debts. You'll find Gertrude, the old herb woman, in the woods.
Good day to you.
Is there anything suspicious?
Indeed, there is.
Is there anything?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
I've come in the name.
I don't know how I can help you, but
Have you noticed anything suspicious?
there wasn't sight or sound of him for a long time. And then yesterday, he turned up at the church and even talked to the parent.
Who was this?
You could see at first glance he was...
Do you know what?
I don't think he was...
Do you know who?
As far as I know, he...
That's all. Thank you.
I've come from the priest. They're saying you incited some women to witchcraft.
Me? Witchcraft? That's nothing but idle chatter.
Don't you know that witches get burned alive?
There's no need for trouble. I'll tell you everything. I've done a very foolish thing. It's preying on my mind so much I can't sleep a wink.
But I'm supposed to believe an old witch has pangs of conscience.
Laugh if you like, but it's not a word of a lie. You probably know I sell various magic lotions and potions alongside my herbs. Well, there's one I wish I hadn't sold. You see, Vera, Zlata, and Kuta from Uzhitz wanted a magic ointment from me. I kept refusing them, but in the end I let them talk me into it.
What kind of ointment was it?
One that will show you a world no one else can see. A place of wonder and terror. The flowers might start talking to you, or the earth could swallow you up. I don't know if it's the work of the devil or of God himself, but the ointment has that power. But it could poison any person who doesn't know how to use it right.
So all this talk of witches anointing themselves and then flying to their sabbaths on broomsticks...
The ointment could make a person see such things. But it was stupid of me letting those foolish women get their hands on it. They could poison themselves or fall off a cliff while they're lost in a dream.
Will you give me the ointment recipe?
It contains belladonna and the herb Paris, both quite poisonous plants. That ought to make you think twice about dabbling with it.
So why did you give them the ointment at all?
Because I'm soft-hearted. You see, one of those women, Vera, lost her whole family in Skalitz. And Zlata's husband was killed. And the youngest of them, Kuta, miscarried with the horror of it all. They said they wanted to use the ointment to speak with the dead and ask them to put a word in with the Lord.
Yeah. I understand how they feel. But I reckon it'll get them nowhere but the ducking stool and the stake.
Judge not, lest ye be judged. I didn't want to give them the ointment, but they offered me a pile of groschen. So I thought how desperate they must be.
And why are you so worried about them all of a sudden? What changed your mind?
I'm losing sleep over it. Firstly, those women don't know what they're doing. And secondly, folk might see it as witchcraft. And do you know what they do to witches?
They burn them alive.
That they do. So don't be surprised I'm worried.
It didn't bother you before, though. What did they want the...
Each one of them lost a loved one.
I've heard enough.
If you've heard enough, you must understand why I need your help. Find out from those women... Thank you 1,000-fold. I'll go to the Reverend myself.
I've heard something about a magical ointment.
Really? I'd like to know where from. And what concern is it of yours, anyway?
The herb woman sent me.
Gertrude? What does she want? More money?
It's not about the money. She's concerned about your health. That ointment can be dangerous, and she wants me to make sure you don't do anything foolish.
It can't have got any more dangerous since she sold it to us. Tell her we're ever so great.
I've heard something.
Really? I'd like to know.
The herb woman.
Gertrude.
She'd like to know just what your plan.
What made her change her tune? You can tell her we plan to do exactly what we agreed.
I've heard something.
Really?
The priest.
The priest? It's nice to find out what telltales you have for neighbours. But believe me, it's none of your business. Or the...
That's enough.
Oh, it's threats.
I've heard...
Really?
The
priest?
It could be...
So I'm supposed to believe the herb woman...
She'd like to know what you...
But we already told her. I don't understand why she...
I've heard something...
Really?
What's going on out there?
The priest...
The priest?
What? Show yourself. Who's there?
That's enough.
Oh, it's threats.
I've come in the name of Sir...
I don't know how I can...
That's all.
I've heard something...
Really? I'd like to know where from. And what can...
The priest...
The priest?
I don't quite know...
Only a herbal ointment. Some chanting. And 3 women at night in the woods. No harm done.
Can't have rotted down enough yet.
No, but I cut off the top roots at the time.
So you did half the job at least.
Who is... What have we here? Watch where you're going. Who is it?
Yeah!
What in...
What? Show yourself.
bite to eat.
We're all here. What do you want?
I'm gathering herbs. Stay out of my way.
Herbs, my foot? You're that sneaky lad that was nosing around.
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything. But first I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I have the honor? Where are you from?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh, I'm sorry. What about your kin?
They're dead.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I've only got
Here,
2 hands.
we'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless. We had no warning. They just appeared and began the slaughter. God knows why. They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. My parents, the girl, even the Deutsch who was on Sigismund's side. I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my heels. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There was a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovna. Folk who tried to take refuge there, but they...
My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch Bernard.
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Ujitz, so he sent me here to follow it up.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. We'll have to drink to that. Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Noyo? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things, but I take most of it with a pinch of salt.
The rumours aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhof stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. They only wanted to kill. They maimed the horses and slaughtered some people. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarrelled among themselves and broke off the attack. And judging by what's left of our Lubosh, they're still settling accounts.
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Dreadful. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and so terribly.
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our parish priest at home. I noticed you're pretty handy with a sword. I wouldn't expect that of a man of the cloth.
You know what they say. The Lord moves in mysterious ways.
But this is a bit more mysterious than others.
Let's just say I haven't always been a priest. fate led me to places where affairs were settled by force. These days, of course, it's just a bit of exercise to keep me in shape.
Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business. So, about this confessional seal. Do you really want more innocent people to die?
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, you'll forever be tempted to do it again. If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse than even the most hideous crime.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again, and I can't stop them.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret. But first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you.
Word of honor?
On my soul.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation. Where on earth do you get the ideas for your sermons?
Well, Uzhitz isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the Bible, I'd soon be preaching to an empty church.
Our priest wasn't exactly a bard. So what do you preach to your flock about?
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And, of course, describing them in detail. The tongue-lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life, with a nice moral to them, are popular as well. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and the people liked it. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus about Mother Church. The lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned to poison. And nearly the whole of Christendom is contaminated. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to devour every grain of gold and silver. They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing for wealth, and they shamelessly profit from everything. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolution. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their whores in expensive fur. While Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no place to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too. Amen.
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregation will love it.
I don't doubt it.
Pour me one.
Let's drink to that.
Funny. That last bit reminds me of someone.
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach to. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse those stuffed habits in Sasau Monastery.
As you wish.
What do the common folk think of it?
They like it. They're happy to hear someone say what they think themselves, but are afraid to say aloud. Things that make them angry. They're calling for change. In a few years, it'll have grown beyond control. You mark my words, the people will rise up, and the church will be shaken to its very foundations.
Yeah, unless they burn him at the stake first.
Nonsense. They can't burn a master of the most respected university in Europe.
Where can I find out more about his teachings?
Do you like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at my presbytery.
What do you think of this Jan Hus?
He's certainly a wise man. A little overzealous for my taste. If he got out of Prague and came here for a look, I'm sure he'd stop condemning drinking and lying with women.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when someone boozes and lives in sin with a woman and then criticises the Pope for debauchery?
No, I don't.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been morally uplifted enough. Oh, it's getting quite late. What are your plans, Father?
What do you suppose? We have a drink, of course.
Ah, that sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Cisza bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj panu desej smutek, dodnielo I rano utek, niech już małżeński majstak, do wczera żylne staje brak. Už sej moji svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejbě jich kůži. Nám je to jedno a tak si dáme jedno a požerem si huby jako poslední den. Můj se má být, ano ráda stávy a tak vypal sudy a posaď se mi sem. Tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž kozy jako vozy, zítra jen tu jsou nejdem, tak nalej mi hned a točí se svět. Enough of this!
Bailiff! Come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped, and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can ride is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up.
Ale do prdele.
Bring it on.
Ow. You whore son!
So, my dear, wouldn't you like to have a little ring on the bell? No sooner said than done.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure. Right, Henry?
Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch the step, my dear. Careful, you don't hurt yourself.
Godwin, you're a buffoon.
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
Oh. We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Well, I'd say it was a fairly good time to leave it. We'll just get to the next bit, whatever it is. Finish this little section.
Godwin, you beast! Get up! Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards!
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Wait, before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me.
I'd like to help you, but...
You can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look, from what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
can't make any promises about what'll happen.
No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tavern, and that's that. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what I know about Lubos.
Christ almighty. Fine then. We have a deal.
Wonderful. Let's get to it then.
Hey!
Show up. The swill.
Look, he can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait.
Look at him. Mother of God, any minute now he'll throw up.
So I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters in Christ,
I would like to talk to you about our Holy Mother Church and what iniquities it's declining into.
Boy has a cheek.
Creation has given to every man the power by which he might rule the whole world. But that power does not give him the right to rule. That right belongs to God alone. It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, humans, hunger, and chaos. The accursed wealth that the church is drowning in is poisoning almost the whole of Christendom. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of ravens that has descended on this land to peck up every speck of gold and silver. They show no mercy. Their hearts are poisoned by covetousness. They trade everything. Everything is for sale. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay, and you will have absolution. And the prelates sin and give themselves absolution.
For shame! Shame upon them!
And what sins? They live with harlots and keep concubines, even though only marital intercourse for the purpose of procreation is pure. If someone takes a woman or man only to satisfy their own lust, who seduces them to do so but Satan? And how much darker the sin if that man is a servant of the church? Who can turn his face to God, who fornicates and then puts on priestly robes?
Nothing we don't know about already.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and whose absolution they promise if you only pay enough coin to Mother Church. What if the devil himself were to pay? Will the bishops tell us he too would ascend to heaven? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they keep fine horses and hordes of servants to pamper them. They play dice and garb their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, walked barefoot and had nowhere to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too.
Down with the prelates. Away with them.
We're fortunate to have our good Father Godwin. At least he's a fair and simple man.
God sees what is happening on earth, and he is filled with righteous wrath that those who should seek the salvation of souls instead seek mammon and the idle comfort of lucrative posts. Blessed are the shepherds who share the poverty of their flock, who are as one with you and bear with you the burden of this earthly pilgrimage, who do not condemn your venial sins.
Oi! All honour to Godwin! Let him drink like one of us!
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that huss.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a
I'm glad
silver
he
tongue.
came here. I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague, and he told it nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed. I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So gluttony and fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now, slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you...
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out? Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhoff.
That would explain something. Lubos kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubos killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it.
What the hell are you doing?